The Rise to War devs hinted about a new version of the map in Lord of the Rings Rise to War coming to the game soon. I forget when exactly they mentioned that, but apparently that map is here. If any of you guys watched my live stream, you will have seen some of it at least. I'm sure I pulled up the map and looked around at least a little bit on stream. So in this video, I want to talk to you about what I have figured out from this map, and that way hopefully it will help you guys if you get into a campaign with this map as well. Let's get into it. All right, before we get into the nitty-gritty details, I want to take a few seconds to tell you a somewhat funny story. My team going into this Kings of Men campaign, we had our spawn locations all planned out. We distributed players across different territories in order to help spread people out. However, we didn't realize that this new map was coming into play in this very season. As far as I know, the devs did not mention it whatsoever. And so the place that we had picked literally was not an option, so we had to just kind of jump in. We went with Mordor, but I don't want that to happen to you guys. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the new spawnable regions. There are still 8 spawnable regions, but if you'll notice, Mad or Tog is no longer an option, Haradabad is no longer an option, and Osgiliath is also no longer an option. These regions are now Grey Havens that got moved from Anuminas over to Grey Havens. You also have Orthanc that takes up the Enidwaith region. Dol Amroth is still one. Like I said, Osgiliath is gone. Umbar is still one. Haradabad is gone. Mad Ortog is gone, and now Mordor is an option. Kynaland is still an option, and then we have Erebor and Gundabad as new spawnable regions and new capitals for Kings of Men. I don't know if this is going to be in all of the campaigns. I kind of hope that it's going to be this way because I really like this map so far. Those are the new 8 spawnable region capitals, so you'll need to control one of those in order to make your kingdom. There are no more Watchtower things. It's just more of a standard straight up, you capture the capital, you form your kingdom, and then once you formed your kingdom, all of the stuff becomes whatever pretty color you choose. There are a few more major changes I do want to talk about in this video. Number one being the map is way more compartmentalized, and in a minute I'm going to talk about also a resource distribution change that I think is wonderful. And I'm going to give you a little tip at the end about external keeps versus internal keeps. So first of all, the compartmentalization, what do I mean by that? Oh, somebody captured a thing. Oh yeah, we captured a thing. Good time to record a video, I guess, in the middle of a siege, right? Wasn't my team that was tasked with getting that anyway, so we're good. So you would think that, because this is the way the old map used to be, that you could just kind of walk into Central Mirkwood. Turns out, to use a very popular meme, one does not simply walk into Central Mirkwood. On this new map, let me just actually zoom out first and show you guys all of the big, thick white borders. These are all like the new, larger areas of the map. They are all separated by these new things called passes. Some of them are crossings, some of them are tunnels, like this one down here. Actually, this one's also a crossing. The one over here is a tunnel. So they are like massive choke points, effectively, because if we look along this territory, this border between, what is this, Brownlands and whatever's up here now, Brownlands and Withern Gardens. Normally you'd think, just by looking at the map, that, hey, I can just walk between them. Well, no. The entire border is now either rivered off or mountained off. The only way to go from south of Rovanian, which is like all this stuff down here, to northern Rovanian is you have to go through the passes in the middle of the map, or you have to come around the long way through passes on the outside of the map. So what I really like about this change is due to the fact that the passes from external regions to the internal regions, due to the fact that those are significantly weaker, you can see 34 million siege and level 40 defenders, 30 armies of them, versus all of the external to external passes are much, much beefier. 50 million siege and level 49. I don't know why they didn't just go with level 50 defenders. Maybe they're actually level 15 this typo. I don't know. We haven't hit it yet. 50 level 49 defenders, or even this one is 55 level 50 defenders. It is much more difficult, at least in the beginning of the season, to go external to external than it is external to internal. And so external, I guess I'll quickly define that. I just mean any of these spawn regions on the outside of the map. So, in effect, this is really funneling players towards the middle of the map, and there's going to be conflict that arises from it because, you're crowding a bunch of people into a small area. There's going to be tile drama, there's going to be natural border tension, and the other thing that is very, very important is the resource distribution changes. Let me show you what I mean. If I just come to the middle of, let's say, Southern Cond, because I do believe there used to be 260s and 300s in here. Well, let's see. No suitable land tile found. Well, let's check Northern Cond. And guess what? If you guessed no suitable land tile found, you were right. They have not exclusively removed 260s and 300s from the edges of the map. There are still some in resource hotspots like Hills of Rune and a few others like Iron Hills area. There are still some out there. However, for the most part, these are now in the middle of the map. Another thing that incentivizes people to push from the outside in. A, it's easier. B, all the juicy resources, or at least the more juicy resources, a greater abundance of juicy resources, however you want to say it, those now reside in the middle of the map. All of this is to say, I really want to encourage you guys. The best tip that I could give to you, if you spawn into a campaign and it's using this map, you really, really, really want to get to the middle of the map, or at least the interior regions of the map, as quickly as possible, which brings me to the last point that I want to point out in this video, and that's, let's say you would look at Barad-dûr, you're like, man, level 40 armies, how am I going to take those on within the first couple days? Well, it turns out that the armies that are defending keeps in the outer regions of this map are pitifully easy. I mean, they are like an absolute joke. I don't know if this is a bug or an oversight or intentional design. It's probably intentional design because who would want to wait like 3, 4, 5, 6 days in order to take your capital, right? Like, you can definitely do these things on day 2. We didn't, but we regret it because we didn't realize how easy they were. We're like, oh man, level 40 is like, it's got to be a little bit tough, right? No, 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 no. These things have like blue gear and half the command that you would think they have. They are super duper easy. Even the Black Gate pretty much just fell over immediately. The cool thing is it means you can get to your capital very, very quickly. You could take this on day 2 for sure, I think, for most teams. Even if you're not a super strong team, day 3 should be doable. Same thing for these passes, Dun Harrow, any of the new passes that are external to internal, you can take them super early on. And that's my biggest piece of advice if you play this map, is take those really early on so that you can get your players spreading out and farming actual nice tiles rather than being bottled up in your starting area. Because like I mentioned a minute ago, you can't just walk out of here. Like, you can't even go from Southern Cond down to Harrods or Cond Borderlands. Like, you can't. It's not possible. You have to go through the pass. So, definitely make it a priority to get your capital. Make it a priority to get your external exit pass thing, whatever you want to call it, and get out there in the middle of the map. And then, but you want to watch out, because I don't want to make you think that all of the keep defenders are easy. The keeps in the interior of the map have actual legitimate defenders. They're not like super hard. I mean, they still keep defense armies, but they are like normal keep defense armies. They're not armies that have half the command that they should and blue gear and literally just fall over to one whaled player. So do keep that in mind. Just because you could take Barad-dûr on like day 2 doesn't mean you could also take Dagorlad on day 2. I mean, maybe if you're a super ridiculous team, you could, but generally speaking, you will want to go a little bit slower in the interior of the map, and I think you can see that displayed here. Pretty much every team has their own home region, eaten up with a couple exceptions. By tomorrow they'll all be eaten up, but there haven't been that many interior keeps taken, at least not compared to all these external keeps. Overall, my final closing thoughts on this is I really, really like the design of this map. I like that it pushes players towards the middle and that that's where the conflict's going to be focused. I like that it is more difficult to just walk into somebody's resource backyard. I like the idea that you're really going to have to fight for your resources now. You can't just run around and harass people. I understand that it is a legitimate strategy. However, I would make the argument that in a game like this, it is simply like not fun gameplay. And I think my biggest piece of excitement about this new map is, in my opinion, we're going to see way more actual big battles and way less just people running around flipping tiles constantly. One of my biggest gripes with this game is when wars would kind of just devolve into what I've called the tile flipping Olympics in the past. Like I said, I understand that it is a totally legitimate way to play the game, but I'm glad to see the developers seeming to encourage what at least I think, and hopefully you think too, is a more fun and engaging way to play the game. I think that it's going to really, really promote a lot of conflict and bloodshed in the middle of the map because that's where you want to be, that's where all the resources are. And I think it's going to actively discourage people from running like all the way over here just to zero you out. Obviously, it's still going to happen, but it's going to be more difficult because like this Green Kingdom couldn't just betray us and start rampaging through our backyard. They would have to come through like one of two or three choke points and then they could do it. So that's still, not impossible, but it is definitely not as easy as it used to be. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think about the new map down in the comments, and thank you for watching.